Alright guys, we're back. Got Risch here, gonna do some Dragon Marked for Death, any percent, solo Shinobi. Risch, take it away.
Thank you, Cookie. So yes, I am Risch, back again. We are playing Dragon Marked for Death. This is a 2D platforming RPG by Inti Creates. We played this last year for magFAST in a co-op fashion. But today I'll be playing solo and just joined on commentary by the one and only Taraj42. Want to introduce yourself?
Hi, hello. I'm Taraj42. I usually play the character with the cool hat that pushes lots of buttons.
Can confirm. So yes, this is a sort of quest-based 2D platformer where we're going to be doing a bunch of different platforming levels, but they're in the form of quests. You get rewards, have to level myself up just so I can do more damage. I'll be playing the Shinobi class. You'll probably notice a lot of similarities to Mega Man Zero if you're not familiar with this game. But yeah, we're going to be playing...
This is like Mega Man Zero plus Monster Hunter, kinda.
Yep. So, Shinobi class, very movement-oriented, going to be very fast-paced movement. Maybe not as fast at killing things as, say, the Witch or other classes, but we do what we can to go fast. So I think that should be all for an intro. So I think we should be ready to just give a quick countdown. Tara, would you like to do the honors?
Sure thing. 3, 2, 1, go.
Contract.
Approved.
Excellent.
Oh yeah, shoutouts to Matt. He localized this.
Oh yeah, Mega Matt.
Matt Possum. So every class has to start off with a tutorial. You get Atrum telling you how to play the game, but we usually ignore him. And each tutorial is tailored to the specific character. So Shinobi has a lot of things that you're supposed to dash through and jump over. And Risch knows exactly which chest to pick up and which ones to skip, so he can like cut out most of these cycles.
Also, as a Shinobi, I have access to a double jump as well as 2 mid-air dashes, which means that I can kind of just skip over a lot of stuff anyway.
The dashes. You can chain 2 to get, well, yeah, so there's so many things with this game, because your contracts are going to come in later. But for right now, Risch has 2 air dashes that he can chain together, and they also give him iframes, because, you know, they weren't good enough on their own.
Yep. The way that my dashes work is actually, I have a bar that you can see in the top left. They're called dragon points. And these generate up to 2 bars worth, just passively over time. And I can generate more by hitting enemies. But, for the most part, I want to be skipping over enemies. So, for the most part, I just kind of dash as much as I can. A dragon dash currently costs about half of a bar's worth. That's going to happen quite a bit. I'm going to just randomly dash into enemies if I forget where they are. And now we're already at the boss, who's about to get kicked in the face. I actually messed up that a little bit. I was supposed to do it at the full peak of my jump, but... So the way that works is, for Shinobi, you can basically hit an enemy with a dash and you will lock onto them for a brief period of time. And while you do that, you can then use random attacks to generate combo points and constantly be dealing damage. And then at the end of a combo, you can end it with a dragon kick, which is hold down on the button. You can kick upwards, which will generate a ton of dragon points but not deal as much damage, or you can do a dragon meteor, which is the one I did, which is when you hold up at the end of a combo and it just does a ton of damage but costs a lot of dragon points as well. This is actually being played on PC.
For faster loading.
I'm going to quickly set up some shortcuts.
Nice to meet you.
If I remember where these things are.
Oh, we're doing fruit strats.
Where is the red fruit? Excellent. Yes. There's a lot of different items in these games. They've added a bunch of items over time that have just randomly changed the route. So, fun fact, the items we'll be using in this, there's some things called fruits that I've done co-op runs with and never a solo run. So, this is a first time peek at my new solo Shinobi route, assuming I can do it right.
It's like every time, since this game has released, it's had several pretty big updates in how they change stuff and outside of DLCs and adding quests. And every time they do, it's like, oh, here's some cool new thing we can use in the speedrun and completely do it differently now. Free PB.
Yep. It's just slowly but surely gotten faster. Back when the game first released, we needed to grind levels if you were playing solo, because it was practically impossible without grinding to be able to even come close to killing the final boss.
Yeah. Shinobi's fantastic at platforming and can get through most levels and bosses just fine. But the two kind of walls in the solo category are fastest and then Atrum, the final boss. Because they're cycle based. And you can only get so many hits in, so it takes forever if you're too weak.
Yeah, Shinobi did not really have great burst damage. It was more so really good at generating dragon points, and they can do some burst damage with Dragon Kick, but it wasn't. You basically got one in, and honestly, compared to the other classes, it's just kind of weak. But they did.
It's also hard to use in that tiny room.
Yeah, they did add things like Dragon Meteor, which was added in a later patch. Honestly, one of the coolest changes they've made for Shinobi.
Yeah, it was a consolation for taking away Thunder Nobi.
Yes. We'll talk about contracts in a little bit.
We're coming up on the first boss, Ogre. What's your strat for this guy?
Rainbow Candy Dragon Meteors.
So the Rainbow Candy was an item Risch picked up in the tutorial. Because there's a couple fixed chests, that's one of them, and it increases all of your stats a little bit. The one we're most interested in is Piety, which is affecting the damage that his Dragon Meteor does. And there's a lot of variance, because either you'll get a max damage roll, or half damage roll, or quarter damage roll, or
potentially even an eighth damage roll.
It goes down and down.
Earlier I managed to kill him before he actually got all the way to the bottom of that pit, but no such luck today. So before we continue with the next quest, we need to go around the hub city real quick. It's a newer addition to the game, but they gave you this pop-up that says someone is in need of help. And that's basically saying that you can talk to someone to get an additional quest. One of these quests, two of them actually are required in order to be able to reach the final quest eventually.
So while Risch is picking these quests up, we do have a spontaneous donation incentive. If someone donates, we'll say $15 and specifically says move the mouse, we'll move the mouse cursor off the screen.
Thank you.
No! You have to leave it on there. Cookie, be on the watch out for that.
Alright, am on it. Also, do we have time for a quick donation?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Phantom Matt donates $20 and says, let's see Risch get his kicks in. Thank you, Phantom.
Thank you very much, Phantom. Previous runner.
Oh, $15 to move the mouse 1 inch. Gotcha.
1 inch, alright.
In a random direction. Gotta be. So this is one of the easier but slower quests. You just have to push these fruits into the poison ponds and it'll put them out. The route we're doing is basically there are certain required quests that will give you like this little flag icon that essentially gives you a plot point that you can use to figure out the story. And once you've collected all of those flags, then you can unlock the final couple missions. And so we basically just do quests to to unlock the quest to get the flag, and nothing more.
Yeah, no additional quests. As I mentioned earlier, there was a previous time where we used to do a couple unnecessary quests so that we could get a very easy one to grind out in the solo route, but no more grinding in this. Unless you play this game casually, in which case that's all you do.
Yeah, this game is very different casually compared to the speedrun. It's also very different cooperatively compared to solo. So this is a fantastic casual co-op game. Honestly, I started to like the speedrun more than casual, because once you've beaten the game and you get to the post-game, kind of grindy.
Alright, so we're actually just using this as a quick travel point. That's why I went into the black market earlier, was so that I could get it as a travel point. So I can now talk to this lady, who gives me a reward for completing a quest, which is a Dragonite, which I will be using momentarily. And now we also go on a quick shopping trip, but I also want to set up another shortcut for later.
There's also a horse, a cow, and a chicken, and a dog that you can talk to.
Where's the items? Green candies, I need like 18 of those. I need exactly 1 red candy, and then... Perfect.
For anklet accessories for movement, most of your gold comes from quest rewards, so we can route out more or less how much we're going to have and how much we can spend. Here's pack contracts.
Yes.
Switching to fire, why?
So Fire Shinobi is the one that does the most damage. Basically, there's a lot of different scalings that go into each individual contract. Some of them are made to be faster paced, more consistent damage, or some of them are more burst heavy. Fire Shinobi is the burst heavy one. It does the most damage, best scaling for a single dragon meteor, which means I'm trying to one-shot people as much as possible. It also applies the fire debuff, which is helpful sometimes, because fire debuff means that enemies take more damage. So, you also get 2 jumps, so a total of 3 jumps in midair. Oh, there's this enemy that I'm supposed to kill.
For this stage, that guy on the left drops a chest which contains a door key to open up a thing all the way to the right. So if you're playing this for the first time, you might go all the way to the right, beat the boss, and there's a locked door, and you're like, better find the key, and you go backtrack the entire stage twice.
They expect you to talk to NPCs, like this guy right at the start, who kind of tells you like, oh yeah, someone stole the key. I think it was like some ogre, but it looked like he dropped it, which means that you can expect some enemy on the left side to just have the door key.
He's also pretty rude.
Yeah.
Oh, Risch forgot to mention the most important part of the fire contract is that it's red, and everyone knows red is fast.
Correct. Red is also, in fact, the best color. As much as my friends lately have been trying to tell me otherwise.
So it changed your dash. You've only got 1, and it's longer and more expensive?
Yes, so that's what I was also going to mention. A couple other details of the fire contract. The dash is now double the length, but it costs twice as much, so not really better. And I can't use a second one in midair, so if I use it on the ground, I can continue to spam it, but I can't, like, dash into the air and then dash back down and stuff like that. Oh, I forgot to equip items.
So those pulse waves will confuse you. It's just a left-right reversal. Oh, it's a logo. Or was that a miss?
It was a miss because I forgot the like specific lineup for this fight.
Yeah, Shinobi is probably, as hard as the witch is, Shinobi's attack is a lot more, your position matters a lot. So setting it up to be right.
Yeah, for some reason, like, the plant on top of that Mandrake's head will, like, take the brunt of the hit and prevent me from actually damaging it unless I'm properly positioned. It's really weird.
Oh, and so this is another kind of annoying mechanic, is that there are dark areas, and so you may have noticed Risch zoomed in so he could see.
Yeah,
If you're zoomed out, you basically, it's a black screen.
Just have to zoom in the tiniest amount.
And since Piety affects our Dragon Meteor, and we're going all in on that, most all level ups are just going to be in that. Are you going to put Vitality at any point, or everything Piety?
Everything's going into Piety.
Yeah. There used to be, like, you could argue Strength or Vitality might help, but I think now with Fruits, the places where we need it, we can get a temporary benefit instead.
Yeah, there's one time I grabbed specifically one red candy. Red candies would buff my strength. And there's exactly one level that I will use that red candy. And it won't be a red candy, it'll actually be a red fruit.
Delicious.
This is also assuming I get enough, what's it called? Enough of the coins.
Oh, yeah. So, in order for this to work, and you're not seeing it too much because the point is to get to the end of the level as quickly as possible, so we skip most enemies. And since Risch can double jump over things, it's pretty easy to do so. But enemies can drop a bunch of different items, and some of them are these black market specific coins. And there's like two different kinds, and you can convert some. But essentially, Risch needs a certain number of these random drops in order to upgrade candies into fruits. Because candies by themselves give you like a very small temporary buff, but the fruits give you a much larger, much longer temporary buff.
Yeah, it's much longer, and the difference is actually the candies give a percentage buff versus the fruits that give a static buff. So it's a flat number of stats, which is so much better early on in the run when you don't have stats.
Yeah, the fruits are definitely scaled for post game. So for a speedrun, they're ridiculous. It's like the equivalent of 30 levels or something.
Yeah.
Depending on which one you use.
Kunai Wit Chain? That's actually probably what I want. Hopefully it's the carving knife +2. So this is one of the annoying parts for Shinobi, is I'm building towards dealing damage to bosses. But unfortunately, you can see the frames right now, dude. All 10 of them.
Oh, is that nice? Oh, do you need silver for black market weapon or not?
Nope, I don't get the weapon.
Nice dodge. These crabs are pretty annoying. Your health is a little low though. Now, so if you look at the green bar that says 1,000, that's how many like continue points you have per stage. And essentially, Risch can die 3 times and still finish. But every time you die, that bar goes down, and you get less experience at the end of the stage. Doesn't matter too much, but more experience, more levels, more points, it's all good. Oh, he teleported back in.
Yeah, so the problem with building so much into Piety is that I'm actually doing like no damage to these guys unless I'm hitting them with dragon kicks or dragon meteors.
Yep, because nothing else is benefiting from all the Piety getting.
And I didn't see any drops, so I think we're good to just go. Yeah, that level is not very good, but that's okay. Okay, carving knife +1 is okay. I need to do that. I actually do get an influx of strength, which, like I said, strength would actually be better for those particular like gauntlet fights. Just like little bits of damage that I can actually do. I get those from weapons. So what's next?
Oh yeah, and that was one of the other things they included in a patch after the game is the ability to upgrade weapons, which, depending on the route you're using and co-op or solo, may or may not be worth it. Like for the Witch, it's incredible. Some of the Shinobi's weapons are good, but upgrading takes time, so it's a balance.
Yeah, so the reason that it's so not as good for Shinobi is because you get, as a Witch, you would get like a really good weapon that is your level 5 weapon, which is actually insanely easy to upgrade.
A level 1 weapon.
Yeah, level 1, exactly. That's what I meant. So it's really a weapon you can just upgrade almost for free, it feels like.
It's super cheap.
Compared, like, I'm actually going to upgrade one of my level 1 weapons myself, but it will only give me like 4 strength or something like that, compared to like the amount of stats that like a Witch would get from the weapon.
Risch did some fancy movement there to avoid jumping into the pond, dashing over the enemies, and then damage boosting to break the rocks. So this way, normally you have to zoom in and look at a thing that tells you which of the water is not actually poisonous, because one of them is safe. But if you can just ignore coming into contact with water, either by dashing or through iframes, it doesn't matter. You can just pick the faster side. Oh, this one.
Yeah.
So there's 4 levels, and essentially there's 4 people we have to save, and you know where they are based on the presence of red slimes. So left and right for each of the 4 levels will have 1 red slime. You have to kill it and then talk to the person. And we don't need to save all 4 people, but
doing so is actually routed in for purposes of movement.
You do get an extra 1,000 for it. If you're too slow, they'll get killed by the monsters.
The nice thing about it is I'm locked on to an enemy when I dash into them, but I can also hit other enemies with my stuff too. So I actually like intentionally position myself near the top such that I could kill the slime above me with the dragon kick, as well as the one below me that I was already locked onto. And that way I can kill it without having to go up there and actually target the slime specifically. Actually, wait. This is when I do a small upgrade trip. I think I need to unequip this real quick.
Oh, with all the shortcuts and the fact that solo drops you outside the bar every time, it makes it pretty easy to go do additional shopping trips. It's annoying in co-op because you have to disband the party just to go shopping.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I needed a 4th, of course I did.
Oh yeah, because like you kill less enemies, you don't have upgrade cubes can drop.
Yeah, apparently I didn't get any. I thought I got 1 blue cube earlier, but
Maybe it was a gem.
Or it might. I did see the gems, but I think it might have been in my practice run, a tiny bit earlier. I think I got it from like the boss of the tutorial. Okay, next up, aim for high heaven, and then we want to re-equip the shuriken. So yeah, upgrading that shuriken means that my strength will be slightly higher, which means that I'll have a little bit of an easier time dealing with random enemies while still being able to basically obliterate bosses.
Yep. Because there are some enemies you want to kill, some enemies you have to kill.
Yeah. It's like some enemies you have to kill, as well as the gauntlets, you obviously have to kill all those.
Yeah. So this is one of the more annoying levels. Shinobi doesn't have as bad of a time with it because with like the multi-jump and the wall jump, can get through a lot of these vertical sections super fast. And the gimmick with this stage is he just has to look out for the balloon, which you got right there. It's got a couple random spawn locations. Risch knows where they all are. And then the only other thing you have to grab on the way up is there's 2 specific chests that contain the power source. and you gotta watch out for Pikachu. Because there's status effects in this game, and most of them don't matter, but paralysis is literally the worst because you can do nothing while paralyzed except walk. You can't even dash while paralyzed.
Not even just dash. You can't run. Move at like running speed.
Oh, sorry, that's my version of it.
Yeah, I know it's a dash for you, but like when we say dash, that's what we mean. It's like
Can't sprint. You can just crawl.
correct. Alright, so I have to check this room over here only for the balloon. Which means I don't have to check the other one, which is really good.
The other spawn point is like off to the side in an area we don't otherwise have to go into, so getting the early spawn is good. It actually saves time in solo Shinobi. It doesn't matter in co-op runs because anyone other than the Shinobi takes so long to get up. The Shinobi can check all the spawn locations and get the chest and still make it to the elevator before the other class gets up.
This is accurate.
The elevator has no shower.
First one's a mimic.
So most there's certain fixed mimics that we always know that there's mimics, but there are certain other chests that can sometimes be mimics. I don't know. Is there any in the run that can sometimes be a mimic that gets in your way?
Yes, there can be. I don't think they're ever in your way though. Now that I think about it. Because most of the time, after like the first 2 stages, which like, I don't think you can have a mimic in the first few, you basically just skip them all. That was for you, Tara. Push me that button. That I totally don't need.
I appreciate it.
And now we are at the end of the stage.
Which would be about halfway done. Green candy for the green horse.
Oh, really missed?
540, there's a low roll. 10? I didn't know you could hit that. Was that a miss?
Yeah.
That is insane. 8-10. Okay, that's low.
It's still like literally a quarter roll, I think. Like, that might have been a
16
half.
point. That's crazy. Let's see. This horse kicked you in the face.
Fine.
He's got 23 piety. The piety of the enemy will affect their chances of reducing the damage, and it's like half each time. And so, if you lose a bunch of coin flips, you can end up doing a lot less damage, and that happened the first few kicks.
Normally I one-shot that boss with a good solid 3,000 damage. For the record.
Yeah, very unfortunate.
I never hit the high roll, period. Don't think I'd do anything after that, so it's Sea of Tomatoes. I need to re-equip some new items.
I can't believe this is a level 5 mission. Because this is, you literally fight Cthulhu. This is like a tough mission when you're first playing the game.
Yeah, no, this mission's actually rather annoying. Like, first playing through, such that when I first saw it, I saw it was level 5, it made no sense to me.
Same.
We gotta grab that key to get that guy out.
Bandito, my favorite. He's a very important NPC. Gonna zoom in?
Oh, I guess I should. I honestly forgot for a second.
Light. So, I didn't know this for a long time because I hate zooming in, but if you zoom in, you can see the name of the item and if it's a pile of gold, how much it's worth.
Yep. And so that little blight mushroom you saw actually has a chance to be a dynamite mushroom. Oh, hi. This one's over here.
He was hiding. Hey, when you miss one and he's just on the other side of the boat.
Yep.
Suddenly, Cthulhu. No big deal. dance is death. So there are 4 different tentacles. The ones on the far left and right will do this water wave attack. The ones in the middle fire these orbs that when they explode leave behind a cloud that will confuse you. It's pretty annoying. But once Risch locks on, builds up some dragon points and then goes to dragon meteor. Depending on the rolls, can take these out. Just 1 or 2 hits.
Yep.
Green candy. Candy lasts for about a minute, which is usually long enough for the fight where it matters, but depending on the rolls that he gets, sometimes it can take a little longer.
Enemies, or bosses I should say, when they hit 25% health, will spawn this thing called a dragon orb, typically. If you hit it, you can grab it. I'm not going to grab it because that's slow. It's a really long cutscene.
For the content, do it on fast.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do it on some boss later, but just not Cthulhu. Basically what it does is it lets you have infinite dragon points, which is really nice. You no longer can be affected by debuffs. And on top of that...
You get a full heal.
Full heal, yes. Oops.
So this stage is just, well, we're inside Jabba Jala. We're looking for Princess Rita. We're trying to find the statue that the fisherman's lost.
Inside Cthulhu.
Inside Cthulhu. Yeah, you know.
Literally Cthulhu.
No big deal. But this is just platforming.
There's so many like little enemies floating around. There's these like jellyfish you can see that if I hit them will freeze me, which freezing is literally the worst.
That's second word. It's not like it's annoying. It's the most annoying.
Can I like play the video game? That.
Hey! Now that one's the worst.
Give me fire. Jesus.
So Risch was strategically jumping into the stomach acids to... You can only have one status effect at a time, and so they override each other. So fire cures all ailments. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Fire means I'm taking more damage, but at the end of the day, not moving at the speed of a turtle is greatly preferred.
The Hermit King specifically. Let's see. Hey Ben. Good to see you.
Alright, and then I'll drag this guy way too far.
Sorry, you got time for the one?
Alright. And with that, we have one more stage until I have to do another shopping trip. And this is the stage where I ideally get a lot of my drops because there's just a lot of downtime essentially. Let me just make sure I'm filled up.
Oh, the escort mission.
Menuing is hard.
Man.
There we go.
So this introduces us to Eterno, and you have to escort him back to his cabin. He does like some research and gives you some plot points, so this is required. But we have to basically clear a gauntlet and then escort him back to his cabin, and it involves slow walking and elevators. Very complicated elevators.
Very complicated.
But since Risch has to kill a bunch of enemies, as he mentioned, this is the best place to get a lot of the coins that we need for some upgrades in the black market. Ooh, that's the complicated elevator. Oh, do you still have more stuff to upgrade?
Yeah, I have a Kukuri that I'm going to upgrade, which is my level 15 weapon. So
if enemies get too close, Eterno will say, there are monsters nearby. This is your specialty. And then when he gets to an elevator, if it's not on the ground, he's like, I appeared to be stuck.
yeah,
What a complicated... And he's got the best thinking. Can you zoom in on that? What do I do here? Thank you, Eterno. How troubled.
Yep. And so, as a Shinobi, I'm apparently the lightest class in the game.
Oh, the elevators are physics-based. So, the character you are when you stand on it, they'll move at a different speed. And so, if the Shinobi's standing on one and the witch is standing on the other, it's like...
It's overpacked.
The witch will outweigh the Shinobi. It's a really heavy hat. That's all I'll say.
So now I want to basically just clear out the way for Eterno.
String shot. Caterpie got you good.
Yeah, so I'm basically just clearing out the way for Eterno. And then once I've done that, I can basically spend the rest of his time just killing enemies. He's currently poisoned. He'll live.
It's true.
And then with that, probably kill like one more enemy if I wasn't frozen, but call it a day there. So, important thing, you talk to Eterno once, you talk to Eterno twice, and that gives you a flag.
Risch is really good at text smashing, by the way.
Not quite anymore.
So you have to fight a boss on the far right side and the far left side, and as a Shinobi with the ability to wall jump infinitely, they're able to do right side first, which is faster. Everyone else has to do left side first. So we do this gauntlet because it gives us a chest that contains a key that we can use to get to the far right side, and then instead of having to fight a second gauntlet to get out of there, Risch can just jump back up to where he came. The frog.
Yeah, it's just like easier to climb this mountain over here than it is to climb on the left side with a ton of enemies. Like, there's like nothing here, this waterfall. Yeah. Except at the bottom, which I should just avoid.
So these two dragon heads, they basically try to bite you, and then they'll do a special attack. And this one on the right, like, pulls in the water, which if Risch wasn't literally flying, would matter. And then it does like a headbutt.
Yeah, so I'm not going to be able to one-cycle these bosses, because my damage is just not good enough right now.
And after the headbutt, it'll summon these water towers, and you just gotta watch the ground for where they're gonna come up. So it's 3 of them, and then the cycle repeats. So, looking like a 2 cycle.
Oh,
Turn around.
he decided that I wanted to go...
Yeah, the Shinobi will face the target, and he just crossed to Risch's right. Made the dragon meteor miss.
Yeah, so you can just see this nice casual stroll up the waterfall. And then we can compare that on the left side with all of these enemies and platforming. So it's just like, I can just fall over on the left, but...
Oh, do you have the dash mode where you gotta mash dash?
Nope. I just do it by default, out of habit. I've disabled that long ago.
I see.
So if you see the purple numbers, basically piety damage is tracked with either purple or pink numbers. And if it's a... Interesting. If it's a purple number, that means that I'm dealing less damage than I should, because the enemy is a specific type that is resistant to piety-based damage, or as they call it, divine damage. So these Asura enemies, or basically dragons, are resistant to my piety-based attacks. So these are harder bosses for me to deal with as a Shinobi.
Yeah, because they wanted to make the game complicated. They have 2 different types of damage trees. One of them is literally elemental, but also doesn't make sense. That's carving knife +2. And then the other is what Risch just described.
Mm-hmm. Alright, and
Time
now...
for shopping.
Yes, we go over... No, black market. Okay, let's see if I am able to do this. So we want... Beautiful. Exchange. And then... Where are the fruit? I want 6. Oh wait, I want...
Where's the red?
Yeah.
What do you got left over? No elixirs? Oh, right. Angles.
I didn't get enough coins for a second one.
Do you have a convert? Anything for
I
copper?
did not.
Okay.
Which is fine. The scale bangles aren't as important, and if I get one more, I can just go back at basically any point, unearth royalty. I've already equipped that. I know of a slightly better carving knife until I, holy quality water. And then I want green fruits instead of green candy. So I have a couple green candies left over. I think that was just because I routed in a couple extra and forgot to use a couple. But at this point, I want to be using green fruit instead because it lasts significantly longer. Oops.
A full 5 minutes, which is long enough to cover pretty much every single mission from start to finish.
The only exception is maybe one that I'll be using a red fruit for anyway at the beginning and a green fruit for the candy, or for the boss. That's, like, I think that one's still long enough that it would 5 minutes is perfectly acceptable, but it's the only one that's even close. Oh, I wasn't supposed to go this way, but this is fine.
So we're backtracking through the level we've done before. If there's any donations or incentives you want to plug, now would be a good time.
No donations, but I would just want to mention that we are 6 hours and 40 minutes away from meeting the final Hollow Knight incentive, the extra boss of the Forgotten Champion, and we are only a mere $63.11 away from all of the Hollow Knight goodness.
Alright. So you can see this little key icon I have right on the top of my head. Basically what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to go over here, figure out... Okay, so it's the third one on the left. So I go down to the 3rd level, and I'm supposed to use this key to open this chest specifically, and then I can turn that into the guys at the beginning of the level. That's basically this quest in a nutshell, but there's a side objective that I have to do as well, which involves this gauntlet to unlock a switch. Every time I can, I'm going to try and just use shurikens to deal damage to enemies, but it's typically not better because I run out of dragon points really quickly. Oh, this is the bad gauntlet.
Ooh.
So, a lot of gauntlets have... Oh hey, I can get my last scale bangle now. A lot of gauntlets actually have multiple variations of, like, patterns of enemies that can spawn. So, some of them are better than others. For example, that one was particularly bad. It actually had a high health enemy at the end that I had to deal with, and it had a lot of those rats, which have relatively high health, all things considered.
So this is fast. This is an optional fight in this stage. He's one of the more annoying bosses because he can do a lot of different random things, and he can one-shot you with certain attacks. But Risch has Dragon Meteor Kick.
So I have to basically just talk to that altar. I don't think I need to grab that chest. I think I'm grabbing it anyway.
Accessories.
And now I can just go to the end, where there's a warp that I can take.
I like how the horse gave you more trouble than fastest.
Yeah, imagine that. Because it was literally 2 decent rolls. Hey, how you doing?
Oh.
I slid right past the guy. Talked to him while dashing. This should theoretically one-shot.
Golly.
Excellent.
So Risch's piety is really starting to... Well, I mean, that's also the power of fruit, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was a lot of time saver right there, too. Oh,
about that?
Okay. So I got a full moon ring, which is very interesting. Full moon ring is a level 15 weapon for Shinobi. It's really difficult to upgrade, and honestly not worthwhile to upgrade at all. But if you just happen to get a drop like that, it's the only Shinobi weapon that gives you piety. Which means I can just equip it and get some extra piety for free.
That's funny.
Or it's not the only one. I think there might be some like late game weapons that you wouldn't be able to see it in any percent run. And here we are, back at the tower. The bane of Terra's existence.
It's a hard life.
So this one is actually really boring. There's no boss even at the end. The first 2 floors are identical to the last time we were here. And the last one is slightly different. We just have to go to 4 corners of the floor. It's a brand new floor this time. Pick up these like crystals. The stage is really has nothing to it. The only reason we do it is to unlock a stage that actually has a flag.
Yeah. So I guess one of 2 missions that don't have bosses. We did polluted water earlier. At least that one's flat.
Yeah. I mean, Tomb Rescue doesn't really have a boss per se. It's more like a gauntlet. But there's a couple like that. But this one doesn't even have like a fight that you actually have to do. Like you can legitimately get through the stage and not kill a single enemy.
Just try. Yep. They've even like blocked off some of the areas.
Yeah, some of the areas that they realize like, oh, you don't really need to go. Fun fact, that's a mimic. Every time. So you gotta be
kind
real
of neat that when you do revisit stages, some of them have some small differences, and I think they wanted to do a lot more with that, but they end up being mostly the same.
So yeah, the keys are also always in the exact same position per floor. So now we get to the unique part of pillar maintenance, which is that this floor is slightly different, and we just have to go grab some stuff. It's literally just a gigantic fetch quest.
Guy just needs help playing Bejeweled.
This is true.
You do bottom right last?
I can honestly do them in literally any order because of the way that I just fly. I don't actually know which one's faster. I freestyle this literally every time.
Going from right to left, back to right.
Yeah, but it's
at least
falling.
a little. At least a little backtracking.
It's a tiny bit, but like also
it's
an extra fall. Oh, true. Maybe I am just showing off. Oh, I forgot you have to talk to him, and then you have to talk to him a second time, and then that was what I was trying to do.
Oh, I fancy. You can interact with things while dashing. Risch has done it a couple times. It looks
weird. Alright, so after pillar maintenance, it's actually my last shopping trip technically, and we want to go do a quick upgrade. I don't think I've gotten
You get the scale bangle.
Yeah, I can also go do that. Thank you for reminding me. Kukuri, I think I want to upgrade this Kukuri.
What about that half moon thing?
I'm going to equip that, thank you. I didn't need to for pillar maintenance. And then I didn't even I needed to not buy any actually.
Oh, you said so many. Nice.
Yeah, so Kukuri plus 6 is equivalent to my level 5 weapon plus 3 with slightly extra stats. And then we go to the black market, quickly grab a scaled bangle just for a couple extra stats for killing things. So now I'm at my strongest point and actually should not have any problems killing things anymore.
Do you need to adjust your weapons?
Yeah, I will. When I get in here.
Okay.
What is it? Truth and Oven. And then we go Kukuri, Shuriken. Oh, I'm not level 15 yet, so I can't actually equip that.
Right.
Quality water. Alright. And here we go.
So this stage has two bosses, kinda. It's got the Jerk Knight mini boss from before, which is kinda like whatever, because Risch is a Shinobi, but man, this guy's a pain if you're not. I guess Warrior takes up pretty easy. But he's got a lot of attacks and positions where he'll just put his shield up and block things. But, you know, Risch just runs his day right there.
I just had to smack him one last time. You can also see the Kukuri plus 2 increased my vitality as well, which gives me a little bit of extra health, which is why I make sure to get that upgraded. Because now I have 120 health, and I'm much more comfortable, like, damage boosting off of things. It's just such a nice thing to have. And then the 6 extra strength really helps with a lot of these fights.
Oh!
Alright,
So
we're
this
doing
is the
this.
lower section.
This is the section you should never see a Shinobi in.
You should never see anyone in, but especially a Shinobi.
I didn't know where the platforms were. I like slightly fell off the platform. Let's get that key. And again, this is literally our third time through this level. The only difference actually is usually that the enemies are different, so they spawn in different places, sometimes just be completely different enemies. For example, this guy is not there usually. There's also going to be these diva slimes up here that aren't usually there, that I have to figure out how to jump over, and apparently just once jump. I'll take this.
That was a good dash. You got a lot of distance.
Yeah, a lot of distance in the direction that I did not need.
Oh, those tough chicks do a lot of damage for being on fire.
Yeah.
And then a 1. Sometimes the enemies will miss, and you get hit for 1.
Yep, it's based on agility. It's called a fumble. The more agility you have, the less likely you are to fumble, and the more likely you are to make enemies fumble. It does a check against the enemy's agility as well, stuff like that. You can see when I hit an enemy that they also have the same, like, 6 stats as me.
Yeah, the finer details of how combat works still kind of confusing to me, because if your agility's high enough, you can hit multiple times. It doesn't look any different, but when you check the damage log, it's like it hit 2 times or 3 times, and you just do that much more damage. And that's all agility. So sometimes, like, I've seen warriors can do more damage with high agility than with high strength. And that's crazy to me. Oh. So there's really annoying platforms here. You hit a button and they're on this weird cycle, and they appear and disappear. But Shinobi can wall jump and air dash and just skip that whole thing.
Correct. It's really interesting playing this game as like different characters because there's so many different perspectives to basically every level.
Yeah.
And now we get such a good boss.
Very, very diverse. So highly recommend, especially this co-op. Bringing in a party.
So, the funny thing about this boss is that she will summon like 4 orbs that you can target as a shinobi, that you can lock onto, but you can't deal damage to them. There's like really no point. But because I just lock on, that's all I need. Except I missed her.
She dodged.
It's okay. We just have to wait this one out because otherwise it's too difficult to target. And this attack is done now-ish.
The boss is annoying, except
he, as a Shinobi, you just one-shot her.
she's got like no HP. Like most classes have some way to burst her down real fast.
And now we're moving on to some of the last missions before we... where we basically figure out if I made any mistakes.
Oh.
There are basically two more missions, and these last two missions both have flags that I need to complete, along with however many other ones. There's a total of 8, so we should have 6 flags at this point. I'm pretty confident that I've done all of them. Another quick section where zooming in can help, but not really necessary.
I've not noticed any misses. It's so dark. How does he do it? But there's we escorted a Turno earlier. This is the only other stage with an escort mission. But before that, you get to start with an optional boss fight with a really aggressive ogre.
Yep, an aggressive, poisonous ogre.
That's why he's purple. Wait, no. Cactus. Smash. Oh, he does so much damage. Shout out to the fruit.
Yep. He's also Asura, so that's why you saw some purple numbers in there. He just takes less damage from my divine attacks. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter when I have so much piety at this point. Just some nice little platforming to get around everyone. Specifically reveal.
Oh no, all the electric guys.
I am making sure that I'm as safe as possible because I believe if I die, I actually lose my buff.
Yes.
That's a
That is
gold
true.
coin.
Wait, was that a gold coin?
Yeah.
That's fun.
I
Hey,
don't
just leave
need
it on the ground.
I don't need it, but
Okay, so look at the speed of this child. She used to be slower. Oh,
hey, at least
What a
compare this to
pain.
Eterno. The difference here, though, is that we need to keep her on screen. If I get off screen from her, she will get scared.
it was like, oh, I thought you left me, and then stop moving.
Yeah, just entirely stop moving. So,
Look at the Kyrie jump.
oh what?
Oh,
I
you
think I
did.
was too low, so I need to be over here and then.
Ah, yeah. Instead of falling down twice, you just jumped
Land.
from the stairs to the ground.
So these enemies don't appear actually until Princess Mia is close by. Those jellyfish enemies that are otherwise.
Princess seeking jellyfish. So even in a co-op run, it's like one person will have to escort and fight the blue enemies because the other player can't kill them. They just destroy all the blocks and get rid of.
Yeah,
I
I'm
guess
not
you can't
used
get
to
rid of the
escorting
traps
her.
'cause they're all-
I'm not really used to escorting her that much because of co-op runs. I usually leave that to whoever else does it, and
the slower character.
Yeah, I just run along, kill every other enemy that I possibly can, such that it becomes a tiny bit easier. Give me that. This enemy is annoying. I did not get in the air, but that's fine.
Princess has no fears. just like enemies dying around her. It's like, I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah, she'll just run through anything except these spikes. You're approaching the end of this escort mission.
So if you thought one ogre wasn't enough, you left the coin.
Yeah, unfortunately I don't need it.
Like the Shinobi doesn't need 3 silver coins for any, but the witch and I think a couple other classes, Empress, if you get 3 silver coins, you can use it for a weapon upgrade. It's really good.
We could do the same thing. I think it also costs a silver coin as a Shinobi, but the difference is that it's not as good for us to do, and I don't think we can even equip it in an any % run.
Yeah. Speaking of equip, you're level 15 now.
Oh, thank you. If only I had that extra piety, I probably would have one-shot the poison ogre.
So now we've got a thunder ogre, because you know we're just covering all the different status elements.
Okay, let's not get paralyzed.
Yeah, getting paralyzed would be pretty annoying.
This guy could drop. Nah, no need.
Do you have any status recovery items?
No.
It's like sometimes there's at least 2 places where you could get paralyzed in the run pretty reasonably against bosses. So you could bring in like an anti-paralysis bone, or with extra coins you can buy elixirs. But ideally you just won't get paralyzed.
Alright. We are now maxed out on our stats.
Amazing. And this is the mission where you
I didn't equip my red fruit actually, because I completely forgot that menu, but that's fine. My stats are actually good enough that I don't theoretically need it, but it's just a small benefit. Do I even have... I do have a green fruit at least. I just don't have any more healing items.
You've only got 2 green fruits. You'd need 3, right?
What, for this? Yeah, no. I
like,
still have 1 more that's not equipped.
Oh, okay. So you could use 1 on the stage. But it doesn't help your basic attack, so there's no reason to do it before the boss.
Yep.
It's crazy. I guess that's true. And on the off chance you die, it's 130 health. Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, you're doing pretty good damage regardless.
It would basically just mean the red fruit would effectively result in me just pressing 1 button instead of multiple to kill a single enemy. Like, I could just throw my shurikens and those guys would probably die. Oops.
So these enemies spawn in groups, and you have to kill the entire group before the next set spawns. Yeah. The enemies can drop random food items as well, and depending on the food that they drop, some have temporary buffs for each stack, and Risch got the strength one, which is nice.
Carrying this on to the 3rd gate. This dungeon, this level, you could basically skip all these gates that I'm doing and just go straight to the final boss. You can reasonably do that. You would probably die to the boss, but for each gate you do, you actually weaken the boss by a little bit. And then the important thing is that dealing with all the gates actually results in an extra flag.
It's kind of unfortunate, because it would be really interesting to route in, like, okay, we're going to try and skip 4 gates this time.
Yeah. It's like, how many gates could you theoretically get away with skipping if it were not, like, physically required to unlock the final quest?
Yeah, because if the Shinobi just ran to the end, you could probably clear 2 gates for free, and then if the Shinobi waited or cleared a gate, you could do 3 or 4. Because when you clear all the gates, the boss at the end is going to be pretty easy. But if you clear none of the gates, it's unreasonably hard.
Yeah. Because the idea is you're supposed to have done something about the gates. But it's like, what's the nice balance?
Can we do any percent to stop the... Wait, if you don't get 8 flags, where would you stop the run? There's no box. You don't even get past this until you get 8 flags.
You could do like a couple missions, but it would basically be which mission do you do last, which would be one that probably has a boss, because that way you can be the highest level possible, if that's what you mean. But any percent means hitting the credits, which means beating Marked for Death.
I guess the alternative would be like 20 quests or something silly.
Yeah. So there are a total of 8 gates, the 8th one containing the final boss, so we're on gate 6.
So the elements of these enemies doesn't much matter for Risch, but if you're playing the Witch, then depending on the spell that you're using, usually wind. Electric's the worst because wind is less effective on those enemies.
So I can actually use this last gate as a decent opportunity to like just generate full dragon points, because the enemies spawn in one at a time. And what that means is at the final boss I can basically just meteor kick him a few times. Rather than having to generate myself some dragon points and then,
Provided Risch doesn't dash, I'll have it.
I mean, I have to dash. That's the thing, but I basically can just do.
Oh, man, on the way there.
Oh yeah,
Houston Risch.
that's true.
Fruit.
Oh.
So this enemy always starts with this attack. It's a good opportunity to hit him.
I could have gotten 2 in if I didn't dash through this.
Yeah. If you're lucky, time it right, you can beat them before they teleport once. The main thing is just that as long as they don't do their really long attack. There's a cutscene here, so you can skip it now, so that's nice. So this just is a minute faster than it used to be.
Yep.
Although we don't get that dialogue line.
Yep. So now we get a nice little cutscene that indicates, yes, in fact, we got all the flags, which means I can go. I have unlocked Soul Vessel, which is the second to last quest in the game. Where is it? Right, it's over here. So let's make sure that we have equipped all the stuff that I need.
So you're gonna red fruit for the final boss, or can you only have 1 fruit active? I forget.
You can only have 1.
Oh, that red fruit's just gonna stay in your inventory forever.
Yeah, I messed up. That one could have been so much faster.
So free time save next for next one. So this is one of the, I guess, supposed to be more dangerous stages. I don't know because I never do it. The Shinobi's faster, and there's nothing stopping you from getting to the end. So the witch will like walk to the end of this first section and then just wait for the Shinobi to teleport.
Yep. I have to constantly go through this stage many times.
Those axes do a lot of damage, the fire does a lot of damage, and will set you on fire.
Which means you start taking more damage, yeah. This is a mimic every time.
And confirm. Risch is now on fire.
It's okay.
And then that's poison.
Better than not be poisoned. So, nice thing about these gates is if you come at them like very close, it's based on your vertical position, so if I'm like just above them, I can dash under them as they're closing. So as long as I do it right, just dash under them. It's better than having to damage them to actually get through.
They're supposed to shut before you get to them, but
This
their
one's-
activation is...
That one's poorly programmed. It just
That one tricks you. You get trapped in with the slime. Oh no! Wait. Sleep.
And these caterpillars were nice enough to be very far away from where I wanted them to be. Or, they were actually exactly where I wanted them. They're very far away from the gate. Which means that I could just realistically dash under.
I feel like that's the best I've seen you do that level. Usually you miss one of those doors.
Yep. I usually do.
That was good. Alright, here's True Form Vastus, who basically now just has bigger hitbox. Oh, nice! They used iframe. You would have died.
I would have, yes.
Twice. See, the witch thing died that. Oh my god.
My dodges are actually on point right now, I'm not even gonna lie.
That's his elemental attack. He channels up 5 elements and does them in order. But he's dead, so it doesn't matter. But that's the best time other classes have to attack.
Yeah.
Was that a gold split?
No, it wasn't actually.
Dang.
Probably because I've already bought the shards at this point. In a previous run.
Yep. Shards were pretty good.
Alright. Last quest. All I need is a bunch of quality holy water in case I somehow survive a hit, and then my 1 green fruit.
Oh yeah, just one left. Yeah, so this is the final boss, and it's got 3 phases, and the second phase has 2 forms, kinda. Risch is just gonna use a green candy or a green fruit, and it's basically the same thing. Lock on, build up some dragon points, and meteor kick. It's a little harder in this stage because the boss is a little small. They move around a lot, and there's not a lot of headspace to get meteor kicks in.
These platforms also will stop me if I land on them, which means that a lot of the time I'm actually gonna dragon kick.
Oh. Oh, nice. You can dash through that fireball and activate it early. Good kick. Or I guess phase 1 is. And then these projectiles kind of get in the way. It makes it really awkward to keep your combo going.
Ooh. Almost one cycle.
For the content.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely doing it here because full Dragon Point refill is super nice. Not getting put on fire, really nice. It also gives you iframes for a little bit at the start too, which means you can just kind of dodge things.
So Risch was Thunder Shinobi. Thunder Shinobi can dragon kick without a build-up, so it just starts like machine gun kicking. Okay. So the effect of the dragon arm wears off for this third phase. It's basically a new fight. This is Atrium Reborn. It's a good start. Risch is specifically not getting him below 25%, so he doesn't also do the dragon orb attack. Now we're just building up the dragon point. There's a bunch of different attacks that this form can do. But they'll always follow a bit of a pattern, like they start in the top left, so they'll be either top right or bottom left.
Yes!
Nice. You got it with it. So,
I got a really good attack from him.
Coming up soon.
Yeah, time is right now. Sorry about that. On my splits, looks like a 112.15, which is insanely good. There's your 20 minutes, Tara.
Yeah. So 115 solo runs, pretty good.
Yeah. So
talk to the horse.
Yes, thank you. This is a horse. Nay.
Zoom in.
Yes. Horse. Now, my personal favorite. I like the horse, but my personal favorite is over here. Real quick. I actually did skip the credits already, out of habit. I apologize for that. This is a cow. I love the cow. Favorite animal.
Pretty good.
So, that was Dragon March for Death, any percent. Solo Shinobi,
Solo
really
Shinobi.
fun. I highly recommend checking out this game. If possible, I would definitely recommend playing it with a friend. It is really fun to play co-op and explore the game with basically utilizing the strengths of all of the different classes together. Solo can definitely be a bit tough. The speedrun solo is not bad now that, you know, we've gotten a bunch of additional tools over time and have learned more about the game. But overall, though, definitely recommend checking this game out. It's a lot of fun, and it's a very great game to play in a co-op fashion.
Definitely.
With
Awesome.
that-
Thank you, Risch, for that amazing run. I was actually using this as a selling point for myself for the game. And thank you to Raj for commentary. That was amazing. I'm actually going to sign off and hand things over to Blueberry as we go on to The Messenger, personal favorite of mine. You all have a wonderful day. Stick around for more awesome speedrun goodness.